Welcome back, Pokemon trainers, to the 2018 Regional Championships here in Sheffield. We are here for round 4 it is now. We're halfway through the Swiss rounds. Everything's super exciting. I mean, there's been some really intense games so far, haven't there?
Definitely. They've all been really good games. And we got a really good one for you now as well. Because it's 2 UK players this time. And 2 really well-known players as well.
Yeah, it's going to be Jamie Dixon versus Lee Provost. So Jamie Dixon did excellently in the most recent European International Championships right back in 2017. And, you know, he's going to be here facing Lee Provost, someone who finished, I believe it was top 8 at the 2014 World Championships. Actually faced our co-commentator, Barish, in that tournament he did. But it's going to be such an exciting game. Both these players are really fighting out for some championship points here today.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not sure how much championship points Jamie already has. But I know that Lee definitely needs his points for his infight at this point. So he's really going to work towards that. And yes, they both made a good start already.
They certainly did 3-0. That's not an easy feat, particularly in this venue where it is so hot.
Oh,
we are sweltering up here in our jackets and everything. There's no air conditioning. So the players have not only got to battle the focus and intensity of a long day of competition, but also the heat in this room. But, you know, I'm sure the Pokemon are going to be cranking up the heat as well. Maybe if there's a Charizard Y in there, we have yet to see their team reveals. But I know that Lee Provost has been championing Metagross lately.
Okay, yeah, that's going to be interesting. Yeah, it's definitely it's going to be like an enduring tournament for sure, especially with 8 rounds. It's it's going to be like it's a long run, so you got to be up for that. And they already made a good start, but they really got to keep that up. Make sure that you don't fall down. Make sure you keep focusing. Don't let the heat get to you.
Exactly.
Stay hydrated.
Stay
Yeah.
That's something we always say. Stay hydrated throughout a whole tournament. Like, you have no idea how taxing these days can be sometimes. But I think the players are ready. We're going to be jumping right into this game. You can see them there on the player cams as well. Good luck to both these players. Team UK fighting it out here. And we now have team previews. So Jamie Dixon is going to be running a team of Tapu Koko, Kangaskhan, Landorus, Tapu Fini, Incineroar, and Bravery, and Lee is going to be running a team of Metagross, Tyranitar, Tapu Fini, Incineroar. It is the
that's the
Thunderous.
Firion.
Sorry, it's been a little bit pixelated on my screen here, and Togekiss as well.
Yeah, so some interesting picks. On Jamie's team, you obviously have the Braviary, which is, I think, really it's kind of an interesting Pokemon with all this Intimidate going around. But it's still not used that much because it's kind of an awkward speed tier. It's not that bulky either, but the Defiant ability, which raises attack 1 stage after it gets intimidated, makes it really viable in this format at the moment, with Landorus and Incineroar just running everywhere.
Exactly, like intimidates everywhere. Like you said, Landorus. Incineroar, you get Manectric as well, bringing it once it Mega Evolves. And a lot of Pokemon like Milotic and Superior even have seen a little bit of rise because of their abilities. When they get intimidated, they can get a cheeky boost out of it as well.
Yeah, and if I look at Lee's team, he's got like the Togekiss with the Follow Me support, obviously, Tailwind support as well. And his team seems to be a bit more, a bit Intimidate weak as well, with maybe the Tyranitar setup. He's got the Metagross, he's got his own Incineroar. So that kind of also looks like maybe kind of a setup team as well. With potentially maybe dual Mega as well with the Tyranitar there.
Seeing Mega Kangaskhan as well on Jamie's side of the field, that's sort of a blast from the past 2016. It dominated the field. But jumping into this game 1, you see the handshake from both of our players. They are ready, they've picked their Pokemon, and it's going to be a fight to see who is going to win this round 4 game. I'd love to see that Kangaskhan jump right back out. It's such a Pokemon that's been iconic. It has such a great ability with the Parental Bond ability, getting the little baby out the pouch, and it can always do cheeky things to break focus sashes and things. But Lee is going to be bringing the Mega Metagross and the Thunderous as well, as Kangaskhan does jump out. Happily to see it here, and it's going to be Tapu Fini paired up with it.
Yeah, so Tapu Fini doesn't really want to face either of these 2 Pokemon there. Thunderous having powerful electric type attacks, and Metagross doesn't really want to face it either. But at least Jamie has the fake out for the pressure here, so he can scout out a little bit, maybe reposition himself, maybe bring in his Incineroar, which should be able to take a lot of these attacks as well. So it's kind of, it's probably the first turn I'm just assuming it's going to be a fake out from Kangaskhan and just some repositioning probably.
Exactly, that Thunderous really heavily threatening the opposing Tapu Fini. It's lovely to see a little bit more of a diverse Pokemon, always Landorus, but Thunderous is proving it's another genie that can fight among the best of them. But Mega Evolution going to jump out here. It's going to be Mega Kangaskhan, baby's out the pouch once again, and it's ready to fight against both of Lee's Pokemon. Metagross also going to hit the Mega Evolution button, going to get Tough Claws ability, bulk itself up. a little bit with the stat increases, and it's going to be interesting to see what moves these Pokemon are going to go for. We're going to see a Fake Out. It's exactly what we do. Kangaskhan just wants to help Tapu Fini maybe set up something like a Calm Mind so it can take these electric attacks even stronger. Does a huge amount of damage to that Thundurus, actually, as Metagross goes for a Iron Head, going into the Fairy-type Tapu Fini, going to take it down to nearly 50% as Calm Mind does come out. So Jamie just wants to use turn 1 to get set up and bulk up his Tapu Fini a little.
Yeah, that's a really bulky Tapu Fini, able to take 2 Iron Heads really easily. And the interesting part as well is what we saw the Thundurus move before the Metagross. So that's either I've got maybe the Adamant Metagross, or not as fast as usual, or it's maybe a Choice Scarf Thundurus on Lee's side. Either way, it's going to be really fast, and it's going to be threatening this Tapu Fini maybe. Because I'm not sure if a Calm Mind is going to be able to make it live a potential Thunderbolt from this Thundurus here.
Of course, it's taken a lot of damage already from that Iron Head, so even with the boost, Thunderbolt is going to be dealing a huge amount of power. Landorus, however, is going to come in for Jamie, going to switch out his Kangaskhan, get an Intimidate off. Now that that Mega Metagross has Mega Evolved, it isn't, it doesn't have Clear Body anymore. It's going to be taking these Intimidates. Tapu Fini just goes for a Protect though, wants to maybe save itself from any of these electric attacks, and it's going to be the Volt Switch actually going into the Landorus slot, interestingly enough, maybe predicting that the Protect was going to come out from Tapu Fini, and Metagross fires off some damage into Landorus to finish up.
Yeah, so we saw the Volt Switch on Thundurus, and that's actually kind of interesting, because a combination of Volt Switch and Iron Head should probably be enough to pick up the KO on Tapu Fini the next turn. So we see Jamie taking his time here, because he's really got to be worried about that as well. But at least the Landorus, it's at least threatening this Metagross a little bit, but it could also carry something like Ice Punch. So I think still Lee's in a pretty good position, especially if that combination of attacks is able to knock out the Tapu Fini on Jamie's side.
Exactly. Game 1, it's early days trying to scout out the moveset of your opponent's Pokemon, but if that Metagross is packing Ice Punch, Landorus does have to be concerned. Volt Switch does get off this time into that Tapu Fini, not enough to pick up the KO, but it will proc the berry. So Tapu Fini built quite bulkily, like you said, it could take the 2 Iron Heads, it can now take this Volt Switch, and it's better off for it having eaten this little bit of a berry. Well, Thundurus will return back to Lee, and we're going to have to see which Pokemon he's going to bring out into this game now. It's going to be that Incineroar, so firing off an Intimidate right back onto the opposing Landorus. Has to worry about Water-type attacks, or even, the Fairy-type attacks coming out from Tapu Fini, but I think the Intimidate could be crucial here. So crucial, in fact, Landorus wants to get out of there.
Yeah, it's just Jamie was already assuming that Lee was going to switch up his position, bring out his own Intimidate, and he just want to make sure that he has the freedom to just now look at what Lee has on the field and just see, okay, what can I now do in order to counteract this position? So I'm assuming that Kangaskhan is going to come in, which means he now has the faster Fake Out available. And it puts him in a decent position, if the Tapu Fini doesn't flinch, of course. Of course,
well, Iron Head comes out. We didn't see a Fake Out come from these... sorry, of course it was the switcheroo, but yes, the flinch did come out there from Tapu Fini, unfortunately.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of a commentator's curse there.
Yeah.
That's really unfortunate. And judging from the damage, I'm not sure if another Iron Head is able to pick up the knockout here. If it is, that would put Lee in a really good position here, because the Tapu Fini has been boosting up, but it hasn't been doing any damage so far to Lee's team. So Jamie spent all this time boosting up his Fini, but it's so low in health now.
Well, as you were saying, Kangaskhan has the faster Fake Out. Incineroar wants to get out of there, maybe come back to Intimidate another day. As Metagross goes on the Protect, so Lee switching up his ball positioning a little bit, maybe wants to get himself into an advantageous position going forward. As Fake Out comes out from the Kangaskhan into the Tapu Fini that was the Incineroar, so potentially Tapu Fini was targeting it down. It was going to be the Muddy Water, so Incineroar jumping right out of there was a good call on Lee's part, as Muddy Water is going to go from one Tapu Fini to another.
Yeah, so it's not going to do a lot of damage to the Tapu Fini, but it does get the accuracy drop, which could be really big. Yeah, and it also depends kind of on the speed tiers now of these Tapu Fini. Because if an Iron Head might not barely pick up the KO here, then the Tapu Fini on Lee's side might be able to finish it off with a potential Muddy Water or Moonblast. But now with that accuracy drop, that could be really tricky. And of course it still matters which Tapu Fini is faster, and if Iron Head is able to pick up the KO here. But at least, yeah, Jamie he's not getting a lot out of his Fini so far. He boosted it up and he did a little bit of chip damage to some Pokemon on Lee's side, but it's not really doing a lot so far.
No, very true. Tapu Fini from Lee's side going to leave the field, and Incineroar comes back in. These two Pokemon just want to keep switching out for each other, like a tag team, as it were. But this time, the Incineroar is going to get the Intimidate off onto Kangaskhan, negate some of the damage that it can do, particularly with the added boost from Parental Bond. And Sucker Punch comes out, actually going into that Metagross slot. Going to do a good little chip damage there, taking it down to about the 3rd damage, as Iron Head comes out once again. Going to go into Tapu Fini, not enough to pick up the KO, and no flinches here. Ooh. But Incineroar does manage to avoid that nimble little kitty, dodging out of the way of these waves from Tapu Fini as they go into that Metagross. So will we see an accuracy drop?
Not an accuracy drop, but that was a big miss for Jamie there. Because again, his Tapu Fini did do a little bit of damage to this Metagross, but still, he really wanted that chip damage on this Incineroar, especially at +1. That Muddy Water would have done a lot of damage. And now Lee is in a position where he can just go for a fake out again, and he can reposition himself, maybe go for an Iron Head on his Kangaskhan. But I'm assuming that he wants to maybe retrieve his Metagross, make sure that he resets the Intimidate, make sure that he can't be Sucker Punched as well. So at this point, yeah, I think Lee's in a really good position at the moment.
Revealing Sucker Punch as well is interesting, particularly as he has got the Metagross there that will be weak to it. But then that also gives Lee the opportunity, if he can predict the Sucker Punch is coming out, he can maybe switch around a little bit and sort of stop Kangaskhan from doing any damage. But we're going to see Landorus rejoin the field here for Jamie Dixon, get a fire off the Intimidate against both these Pokemon as Tapu Fini goes for a Protect. So this time it's Jamie going for the switching of the ball positioning and protecting his other Pokemon just to try and get himself into a better position.
Yeah, so we see the same thing from Lee as well. He was assuming that the Kangaskhan was going to leave. It was intimidated already, and so he just goes for the U-turn onto that slot. He was not afraid of the Sucker Punch, which might, I'm not sure if it was a roll or not, but it might have picked up the KO on his Metagross, judging from the damage it did earlier. But now he just gets to reposition himself again. And he gets to bring out his Scar Thunderous, which is in a really good position at the moment.
Exactly, coming back in to threaten that Tapu Fini. And you know, if packing something like Hidden Power Ice as well, which we often see with some of the Genie Pokemon, that can also threaten the Landorus. So there's more information to be revealed from this Thunderous.
Yeah, I think the safest play for Lee is indeed to just go for the HP Ice on that Landorus and go for the Iron Head on this Tapu Fini. I'm not sure if you want to predict anything else. I'm assuming Jamie doesn't want that to happen, so I'm assuming that Kangaskhan is going to come back in, just get that fake out pressure again. But we see his last Pokemon instead. It's
actually going to be the Tapu Koko, going to set the electric terrain across the field. No one can go to sleep, but I don't think anyone's worried about that in this particular game at the moment. And it will be boosting, obviously, its electric attacks going forward. Tapu Fini does want to get right out of there, facing down the Thunderous, and Kangaskhan will rejoin the field to fake out another day. Going to be Protect from Metagross, doesn't want to take any damage here, and maybe going on the defensive a little bit, as Thunderous does go for the Volt Switch. You know, Landorus had already been on the field. There wasn't really anything that Jamie could switch into to sort of negate any damage, so a little bit did get fired off there as well.
Yeah, so we saw that Jamie was afraid of that HP Ice, and Lee knew that obviously, so he wasn't just going to go for that. He was assuming that this Landorus doesn't want to stay in, and he just goes for his own Volt Switch. So we see like a lot of positioning in this game, a lot of switch-ins, a lot of Intimidate, a lot of Fake Out as well. It's all about positioning at this moment. But Jamie has got two Pokemon on the field that are still at relatively good health, and this Tapu Koko is really threatening his Metagross. And yeah, basically a Tapu Fini in the back as well. But what he really has to be careful about is that this Thunderous Fairy, if it switches in, it has the Volt Absorb ability.
Yes.
So it might just go back to full health again.
That is very true, and this is the kind of game you really can't afford to lose focus in. You have to be thinking not only about the turn in front of you, but 2 or 3 turns ahead. You want to make sure you're in the right position and out-position your opponent as well. We can see from sort of the style of both these players that they are really, really keen on ball positioning, switching up, U-turn, Volt Switch here. So you need to make sure that you are thinking about what is going on in your opponent's head as much as what you're thinking about in your own.
Yeah, definitely. And with these like really slow games as well, what you really got to be careful about is your own time. And we see Lee switch out his Metagross here.
Yeah, sorry, I was just saying we could hear Pokken in the background, I think, getting very excited as Tapu Fini rejoins the field. Unfortunately, the cheers were not for you, Tapu Fini. But we'll cheer for you here on the caster's desk, as Kangaskhan will go for the fake out, going into that Incineroar. Like you said, faster fake out, going to negate anything coming out from Incineroar, as Tapu Koko goes for a Calm Mind. So this is one thing I've loved about this game so far. Both the players have used their fake out to obviously stop an attack on the opponent's side, but then allow their partner to not just get damage off, to set up. And I think that's been quite key in this game. They keep switching out there and resetting it, but at least they're utilizing it.
Yeah, and Calm Mind Tapu Koko, that's really interesting. That has been a thing in Japan for a while. Because with Koko, yeah, you want Thunderbolt, you want Dazzling Gleam, and then the third move, like you either want something like Volt Switch, but there's a lot of options for that. And Calm Mind's actually a really interesting option, especially if you have that dual Fake Out option. So now the Tapu Koko on Jamie's side is actually really threatening, and a potential Z move could even pick up the Incineroar from this range.
I think it's one of interesting you mentioned the My Time there. If you look at Jamie Dixon's clock, he's got 1 minute 41, and both players still have all 4 Pokemon. Like, this is going to be a really, really intense set. Kangaskhan is going to go for a Frustration here. I think it was the first time it's been revealed here. It's a very grumpy Kangaskhan going into that Incineroar. Not enough to proc a barrier or anything, though. So, good sort of roll there for Jamie Dixon as Tapu Fini goes for a Calm Mind on this occasion. So, lots of Pokemon sort of boosting up, getting themselves ready for the next couple of turns. Both players maybe are happy with their ball positioning at this stage and are happy to start dealing out and going on the offensive. Going to be the U-turn, though, coming out from Incineroar. It's still not happy with where it is. Wants to return to Lee so he can send out another Pokemon.
Yeah, it's a really interesting turn because we just saw the Tapu Koko Calm Mind, and then Lee is just not afraid at all. He just goes for the Calm Mind and his Tapu Fini. Not afraid of the Tapu Koko at all. Also U-turning into the other slot, so maybe he was really assuming that this Tapu Koko was going to protect. And I think he's really using this like this Volt Absorb pressure that he has in the back with that Thunderous, which makes Jamie like question every Thunderbolt he's going to go for. But now at least he knows that the Thunderous is on the field. So the Tapu Fini slot he can target that, but of course Tapu Fini can just easily protect here, and Thundurus could just Volt Switch out into another Fake Out again. So it's really an interesting positioning game, but I think Jamie is not looking at his own time at the moment, because he's taking a lot of time each turn, and he's only almost about 1 minute. And he still needs to pick up 4 KOs in order to win this game.
Exactly. If you don't keep an eye on my time, it's something that can creep up on you, and then you get the pressure in your head and you start to panic a little bit. But it's going to be a Sludge Bomb coming out from that Thundurus, revealing that option into the Tapu Koko, which goes for a Dazzling Gleam, wants to go for the spread option, obviously not go for any electric types while the Thundurus is on the field. Kangaskhan's going to follow up with Frustration into Tapu Fini. It picks up the berry on the first one. The little baby's going to go and have a little attempt as well, but thanks to that berry, it's not going to be enough to pick up the KO. So the item choice coming through so strongly for Tapu Fini there. It goes for a Muddy Water, avoids the Tapu Koko though, unfortunately. You know, it sort of has the best of, you know, you get your berry, but unfortunately you're going to miss your Tapu Koko, and no accuracy drop on that Kangaskhan.
Yeah, that's actually really unfortunate on Lee's side, because we already saw that the Kangaskhan had Sucker Punch. So at the moment, he's got Lee really pinned down. If that Muddy Water actually connected, it would have probably picked up the knockout on Tapu Koko here. But now instead he's in a really awkward position where a Thunderbolt into Fini and a Sucker Punch into Thundurus are just really scary options. But Jamie is still taking so much time each turn, and Lee's also really low, and I think both of these players are really not aware of their own timer at the moment, which could be really crucial in the end.
It certainly can, and I think Lee maybe is just tweaked it a little bit because he's starting to go on the offensive a lot more, just trying to get the damage so that maybe the roll will go into his favor. But there is actually a KO. The first KO has happened of this game, and it's going to be the Sucker Punch going into that Thundurus. And Tapu Fini will also be KO'd by a Thunderbolt coming out from this Tapu Koko. So talking about how these players need to go on the offensive, Jamie Dixon just picked up 2 very clean KOs, but Lee, he now is free to bring back in his Incineroar and his Metagross. Do you think he's got enough to start picking up KOs going his way?
Oh, it's going to be really tough, especially with that Calm Mind at Tapu Koko now. We still haven't seen what kind of item it is, but both of these Pokemon should be in Thunderbolt range, I think, from here. So that's probably just an easy protect for Jamie there, and just I think he's got this game locked up now. With I think Lee really needed to, I don't know, switch out, maybe bring in his Incineroar to get that Fake Out pressure again. But instead he just lets his 2 Pokemon go down, and he just loses his entire switching potential.
I think in hindsight, the Sucker Punch from Kangaskhan was almost obvious in that play.
Yeah.
Just because of the low health on that Thundurus. So if he just maybe had switched it out, he could have brought that back in another day.
Exactly. If he would have switched it out into Incineroar, it would have had a good chance again. But maybe he was over-predicting. Maybe he was thinking, okay, it's really an obvious play. Jamie's maybe not going to go for that. But Jamie just goes for the straightforward play, because he didn't have too much to lose, even if he switches in Incineroar.
Exactly, and Jamie playing defensively here, switches in his Tapu Fini, his Tapu Koko goes for a Protect. Metagross also going for the Protect though, so a little bit of a slow turn here, just for all the players and maybe trying to reposition themselves. Incineroar though goes in the offensive, goes for a Flare Blitz into the Tapu Fini switch in. Thanks to the 10 hit points remaining, it will easily pick up the KO here, but Lee needs to start picking up more KOs in this position at the moment.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be really tough now, because we know the Tapu Kokos are going to outspeed this Metagross, and we already saw that there's a Landorus and there's one Kangaskhan in the back as well. Yeah, both of these should just be able to pick up the KO on this Incineroar. So I think just attacking the Incineroar with a potential Earth Power, potential Super Power, just going for the Thunderbolt into Metagross should seal up this game for Jamie Dixon. And I think that Calm Mind Koko was really big for him. But we still have the timer now, of course, running down, and both these players are 20 seconds.
Yeah, you could see Lee locked it in really, really quick there. I think they both know the position they're in at the minute. Landorus goes for Earth Power, so we're seeing a special Landorus, a Pokemon that was really popular at the Stuttgart Regional Championships. So far, it's only been the physical variants we've been able to feature on stream, but it is now a special one that picks up the KO on Incineroar as Tapu Koko spins around, goes for a Thunderbolt, and will take game 1 for Jamie Dixon. So close. His Pokemon really came in at the end there in the last few seconds of this game 1 for him.
Yeah, and we saw how intense this game 1 was, especially on your own time. Like, they both needed a lot of time to think about each turn, and they both went for U-turn plays a lot, which of course takes up a lot of your own time.
Yes.
Which makes the timer run even faster. In the end, it didn't matter, but it was really close, and they really have to watch out for game 2 and game 3 that it doesn't go to timer and it don't accidentally lose on timer.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think Jamie played it really well. They were both really defensive switch-ins at some point. But he just got that Calm Mind set up and his Tapu Koko, and that was really threatening at some point. But I think the Muddy Water miss on Lee's part, it was really unfortunate, and he could have turned the game around. So it was really close for sure.
It certainly was, and like we're saying, Calm Mind on Tapu Koko, that's not a choice we often see, to be honest.
No.
It's normally always on that Tapu Fini, wants to always set up its Calm Mind, but Tapu Koko is here as well to say I can bulk my stats up as well. We've seen it on Tapu Lele occasionally, and bulk up is the option sort of on Tapu Bulu. We haven't seen you Tapu Bulu today yet either, which
no.
Actually come out onto the field. But we're going to be jumping into this game 2 here, so do you think Lee's going to shake it up a little bit, or do you think he's going to stick with the same 4 Pokemon and just try and outmaneuver Jamie?
Yeah, the way I see it, like Jamie really wants to bring us double intimidate, so I don't really see this Tyranitar doing a lot of work for Lee. And I'm not sure if he really wants the Togekiss as well. So I think that the Pokemon that he brought were okay. I think it came down to a few defensive turns where he just didn't get the switch-ins right, and Jamie got off that Calm Mind and Tapu Koko, and that was just so much offensive pressure. And if you look at Lee's team, like he only has the Thunderous as an electric type switch in, because nothing else really wants to take those big, powerful electric type attacks. So he really has to make sure that I think he gets rid of that Koko as soon as possible, and especially for his Finny to do more work.
Exactly, particularly knowing now it has Calm Mind as well. Yeah. You don't want to let it get set up. So potentially now he's got that information. When he is doing his, fake out strategy, he's maybe going to target into that Tapu Koko a little bit more to stop the Calm Mind, as it were, as opposed to stop whatever his partner Pokemon's going for. But we will be jumping into this Game 2, Round 4 here at Sheffield Regional Championships. And our players are ready. Lee is going to be leading with Thunderous and Metagross. I believe that was the same lead that he went with in Game 1, whereas Jamie has gone for Kangaskhan and Tapu Koko, so keeping that Mega Kangaskhan on the field. But Tapu Koko's joining to set the terrain. Yeah,
definitely. So we see the two Megas face off again. But this time Jamie has the fake out pressure. And it's kind of an interesting position here, because the Metagross doesn't want to take a potential Z-move from this Tapu Koko, which we still haven't seen, but it's your usual item on Tapu Koko.
Yes.
But this Calm Mind variant might maybe carry something else. We're not sure yet. But it's of course the Thunderous with Sludge Bomb, Scarf Sludge Bomb. This is immediately going to threaten this Tapu Koko on the other hand. So yeah, I'm assuming that he probably just wants to fake out the Thunderous and maybe go for Thunderbolt into the Metagross, maybe a potential Z-move if he has it.
Exactly. If it is the Gigavolt Havoc variant in electric terrain, it's going to do a lot of damage as well. And if it is, then that's really interesting to know with Calm Mind as well. Can you imagine getting that boost up, a special attack, and then going for a Gigavolt Havoc in electric terrain? There's really not much that's going to be able to stop that. Unless, of course, it's a little Landorus will switch in. But other than that, it's going to be a strong attack. And Kangaskhan is going to be jumping into its Mega Evolution form here, bringing another Pokemon onto the field to help fight this battle for Jamie Dixon. It's going to be the Mega Metagross as well. So just Mega Evolution straight out of the bat here. These are two Pokemon you want to pretty much Mega Evolve straight away. Sometimes Kangaskhan you don't, because it might have the scrappy ability or something like that that's really useful, but in this matchup you want to have Mega Kang on the field. And it is the fake out into that Thunderous going to stop it from going for a Sludge Bomb or anything like that. And it is the Z move. Gigavolt Havoc is coming out from Tapu Koko.
Yeah, that's really big. And like we were talking, Jamie was he was threatening this Metagross, and we haven't seen the item on Tapu Koko, and now we finally see it. It is that Z Crystal. And that should pick up the KO on most Metagross, unless Lee is running a really bulky one. And if that is the case, that would put Jamie in such a good position here. And we're going to see how much it's going to do to this Metagross.
It picks up the KO with a critical hit. So we don't know about the roll. Oh, Lee's face, he goes back into his chair there. He's upset about that. That's really unfortunate for him here. But if Lee can just, keep his head cool, come back into this, he's still got 3 Pokemon. Yeah, so you never know.
No, the way he's reacting, I'm assuming that he has a really bulky Metagross. Maybe
he might have built it to survive,
EV to maybe live that, and then potentially KO Tapu Koko back with a Stomping Tantrum. But that's not the case, because Jamie just gets a critical hit, and
oh, that's heartbreaking.
That's really heartbreaking for Lee here. The Thunderous is at least not in Sucker Punch KO range yet, so the Thunderous, if it's going to lock itself into Sludge Bomb, it can at least cover the Tapu Fini from a potential electric type attack. But I think Lee really has to make some really big plays at this point to get back into this game. So maybe Volt Rage into this Incineroar, get some Intimidate in again. Maybe just assume that Jamie is going to want to switch his Tapu Koko here.
Exactly, you need to start making some bold plays, and it's going to be the Incineroar coming in there. No Volt Switch or anything coming out. It's just wanting to switch straight away and bring Incineroar into the field. Going to get the Intimidate off, obviously, on Kangaskhan, which is going to be beneficial for him. Jamie, however, wants to shake things up. Going to switch out his Tapu Koko for the Landorus Therian form. Going to get an Intimidate back of its own. Thanks to the speed of the switching there, this poor Incineroar is going to be intimidated as soon as it has entered the field. And that means, you get the electric terrain back another day as well now that Tapu Koko's in the back. But Kangaskhan going straight for a frustration into that Tapu Fini. He's kind of angry about being intimidated and wants to get some damage off. And Tapu Fini goes for a Calm Mind though, so not going to help it against these physical attackers in terms of its defense stats. But it will not get the special attack boost. If it goes for a Muddy Water, if it's able to get one off in the next turn, that's going to do some good damage to Landorus.
Yeah, and we saw that the Landorus was Choice Scarf on Jamie's side, so just a fake out in Muddy Water could do a lot of damage here, but maybe Lee just wants to fake out the Kangaskhan instead, because we saw it's special Landorus, so it's not going to do a lot of damage to this Tapu Fini at all. Yeah, so it is going to help him. And I'm also assuming that Jamie might just want to switch it out, because a fake out Muddy Water, it's really obvious. And I think Lee really at this point he really has to make like the ballsy play. So he maybe he just has to go and attack this Kangaskhan here, which is what he's going to do. It looks like.
Yeah, going straight for the Earth Power onto that Incineroar. They're going to take it down to about 40% remaining here as Frustration comes out once again from that Kangaskhan into Tapu Fini. Going to take it down. Is it in berry range? It's not quite. Tapu Fini does have its berry still intact, but this time it will connect its Muddy Water. It's not going to be avoiding. Maybe that's the curse. If it doesn't proc its berry, then it gets to hit its Muddy Waters, which it does, and picks up a KO on Landorus.
And we should just a U-turn from the Incineroar. And yeah, that's kind of unlucky from Lee again, because he really wanted the berry to proc to at least make sure this Tapu Fini has a little bit more bulk. But it's a good U-turn, because now he's able to bring in his Thundurus again. So Jamie can't just bring in his own Tapu Koko, because it's threatened by a Sludge Bomb. Because we know already that it's a Scarf Thundurus.
Yes.
So that puts Lee in an interesting position again. Which is also why Jamie wants to just bring out his own Tapu Fini and see how that works. But at this point, yeah, I think it's really tough for Lee. And if you're Jamie, you probably want to switch out your Kangaskhan, maybe reset the Intimidate, and make sure that the Frustration from this range could actually pick up the KO on Tapu Fini.
That's very true. If you do want to switch it out, reset Intimidate, and then you can fake out again another day and maybe try and get that Calm Mind boost on your Tapu Koko waiting in the back. Thunder is going to go for the Volt Switch though, going into that Kangaskhan. Does do a good amount of damage, taking it down to 40 hit points. And this means that Lee is now free to bring his Incineroar back onto the field and getting into Null It Intimidate off onto this Kangaskhan. So no Sucker Punches did come out, so if it goes for Frustration again, it's going to be, I think this is now 2 Intimidates is taken onto this Kangaskhan. Yep. So it's going to be doing a minimal amount of damage. Tapu Fini, of course, isn't going to mind, but then again, it's not threatened. It could go for a Calm Mind or something of its own. Instead, it's going to be a Moonblast. Has he called this going into that Incineroar? Yes, he has. Incineroar, I think, is going to leave the field as quickly as he joined.
Yeah. It just took down Incineroar there. I think it also didn't activate the berry so far. So Lee's kind of unfortunate with his Super Citruses so far. So that's kind of annoying here. And he only has 2 Pokemon remaining now. And he has to lock his Thundurus into a move, which that's going to be really tricky. Because I'm assuming the Tapu Fini from full health is going to take a Thunderbolt. But on the other hand, you probably want to lock into Sludge Bomb.
Because it's Tapu Koko?
Because you have the Tapu Koko in the back. And then you maybe have to hope that Sludge Bomb is able to pick up the KO into Kangaskhan. And yeah, then maybe hope for Muddy Waters that your Fini can do some magic.
Well, it's going for the Sludge Bomb into Kangaskhan. Will pick up the KO here, meaning Jamie will be down to his Tapu Koko and Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini going for the Moonblast, though, into the opposing Tapu Fini, so they're just sort of sharing their Fairy-type moves around, and it's going to be another Moonblast coming right back at it. So Tapu Koko will be joining the field here at the end of this turn for Jamie Dixon, but that Thundurus, it's so frail. I don't know, if you go for a Dazzling Gleam or something, that's easily going to pick up the KO.
Yeah, but on the other hand, it's gonna the Thundurus is going to outspeed the Tapu Koko, so this is like a really interesting position, because I'm not sure how much damage Thundurus is going to do, but the Tapu Fini might also be in Sludge Bomb range. So I think if you're Lee, you really have to make sure that you call the Protect. Because I think Jamie has to protect one of the 2 mons. Because if his Tapu Koko just goes down here, we saw that Lee's Tapu Fini is actually faster than Jamie's Tapu Fini. So he could actually win the one-on-one, especially because the berry still needs to be procced. So we see Jamie taking his time, and he really has to consider which slot is this Sludge Bomb going into. And it's really going to be game-breaking, I think.
This is a really tense game. You can sort of feel it here at the caster's desk. It's all going to come down to the Protect, like you said, Rob, and whether the players can get inside the other player's head. Call it 50-50 rolls. These situations happen so often, and they can be heartbreaking, make or break a game. And I think this is a situation that's coming down for Jamie Dixon and Lee Provost, whether we're going to go and see a game 3 here, or if Jamie's going to take the set. No Protects, though. Sludge Bomb coming out into Tapu Koko will pick up the KO. So now it's down to Jamie Dixon's Tapu Fini to see if he can take this game for Jamie Dixon. It's going to be the Moonblast coming out from Jamie's Tapu Fini going into the opposing Thundurus. It's the speedier Tapu Fini here, and it's going to be Tapu Fini versus Tapu Fini, as another Moonblast is going to be fired back into Jamie Dixon's one, but it does proc the berry, and of course Lee's one hasn't had its berry proc yet.
No, exactly. So yeah, it's kind of interesting here, because you of course have the Calm Mind kind of mind game here. Is your opponent going to go for Calm Mind? Should I go for Calm Mind? And kind of leaves him in a more awkward position here, because he really doesn't want. He really needs his berry proc in order to win this one-on-one.
Yes.
And which is also why Jamie's now going to go for the Calm Mind, to make sure he doesn't proc that berry and make sure that he gets the one-shot here.
Exactly. It's going to be a Moonblast coming out from Lee's Tapu Fini into the Calm Mind boosted one here of the opposing Tapu Fini. So now it's a horrible situation here for Lee, where I think Jamie's boosted Tapu Fini is going to be able to take this.
Yeah, and it looks like he was hoping there for maybe a potential Moonblast special tech drop. He didn't get it, and now his Tapu Fini should be in Moonblast range, and we're going to see if this is enough to pick up the KO here.
Here we go from Jamie's Tapu Fini into Lee's one, and it does pick up the KO. I mean, Jamie Dixon will take this round 4 in, it was only 2 games, but oh my gosh, they were intense.
Yeah, definitely. They were really good games, and yeah, Lee got maybe a little bit unlucky in game 1, and game 2 was just was really close again, and it just came down to these 50-50s. And in the end, Jamie didn't protect one of his 2 Pokemon. He was confident that his Tapu Fini could potentially win the one-on-one, and we showed that it did. It was the faster one, which was really big, I think, in this kind of mirror here.
I think being able to proc his berry as well and get all that health regenerated onto his Tapu Fini really helped him, and that was the advantage he had over Lee's one. You know, if you were Lee, you kind of wish maybe you brought Tyrannosaur just for the sand chip, because I think that would have worked for him, got him that berry proc that he so desperately needed, but it wasn't meant to be for his Tapu Fini, and you know, what a fantastic game between both of these players though.
Definitely.
And you know, Lee, he's still going to be 3-1. That's still an excellent record to have here at the halfway stage of Swiss Day 1 here at Sheffield, but Jamie Dixon 4-0, waving the flag for UK here on the home turf. It's going to be, you know, interesting to see and follow them throughout the rest of the tournament. Yeah,
definitely. And yeah, he's an interesting team. And again, bringing Mega Kangaskhan, it's doing really well again. And recently it's been picking up popularity. And yeah, we see it win another game here and just going into 4-0.
Well, Tapu Fini's been one of these Pokemon. We had a little chat with some of the stat teams earlier. There's actually more Tapu Fini here than there are Tapu Koko in Sheffield.
Wow.
In people's teams.
Yeah, it's been the trend recently. Tapu Koko is kind of dropping. We haven't seen Tapu Bulu at all.
No.
We see some Tapu Lele at least, but yeah, Tapu Fini seems to be the trend at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll be able to grab Jamie for an interview very, very shortly, and we can talk a little bit more about Tapu Fini. But first, just before we jump into it, as my co-casters have reminded me, we didn't manage to open a fortune cookie for Michele Gavelli's win, because unfortunately we couldn't interview him. So I'm stealing the opportunity. Rob, you can open the fortune cookie.
Okay. Let's see what is in here.
I know the TCG casters have been doing this relentlessly throughout the day. We've been slipping a little bit on video game. So Rob, what is the fortune?
What does this one say? Wait.
We can read Michele's fortune.
This is Michele's fortune. It's better to stumble a little along new paths than to follow old one without moving.
That's interesting.
So
one.
is that like that? Did that mean that he didn't flinch with his Charizard? The Iron Head?
Maybe.
It's like, yeah.
That's what it is. If you little stumbles, you might get a flinch, you might get a money
not
water
moving
accuracy
and
drop.
flinching. Yeah, I feel like that's,
you know, you could get frozen.
Right,
that can happen. So yeah, it's all about shaking off those little bit of RNG that happened, shaking it off, and then regrouping for the rest of the set. That's the wisdom we're taking from this one. But we are going to stop talking about this fortune cookie now, and we're going to jump to the interview very soon. So don't go anywhere, guys.
All right, welcome back. We are here with Jamie Dixon, the winner of the last match. How are you feeling now?
I'm feeling good.
Yeah? Yeah, you're 4-0 now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really impressive. So yeah, how did you come up with this team?
You did the Zero challenge happened last weekend. I had no team like the night before, and I was just watching Japan Nats like really early hours in the morning. And I just saw this Kangaskhan team that I really liked the idea of, and then I kind of changed it a little bit with the Braviary over Kartana, which it really was, to suit my playstyle.
Okay, yeah. And then I'm assuming that the Kartana also had Tailwind, and now you put Tailwind on your Braviary instead. Yeah, so did it do well so far for you, the Braviary? You didn't really use it in this match, but
wasn't very good in this match, I don't think. But like previous matches, it's been really good for me.
Okay, so yeah, with all the Intimidate running around, I can definitely see that work for sure. Good. Yeah, and Kangaskhan as well. We've seen that pop up a lot. Why are you using Kangaskhan now? Like,
it's not for like the actual Mega Evolution or like the massive damage output, because like you usually have in the previous formats. It's more like for the fake out. So I got two fake out mons to put with my Carmine Coco and my Carmine Feeny, so for a lot of setup. Yeah. And then do big damage.
Yeah, and I think that Calm Mind Tapu Koko as well, that was really big in this matchup. Yeah, for sure. Did you get inspiration from that from Japan?
Yeah.
I think that's where I saw it from as well.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I think that was really impressive. Yeah, how you just pressured down like his entire team with just the damage output.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what did you run into any bad matchups so far, or is everything going smoothly? Because you're 4-0 now, and like how has it been? Has it been dominating? Has it been tough?
Like neutral matchups pretty much all around. Like I usually like to use teams with lots of neutral matchups. So then it's just a matter of playing well.
Okay, yeah. And so did you use a different team in the Zelda challenge then?
I used the cart version.
Ah, okay. So and that's why you made the change. Because right. Okay. And how does Braviary work without like something like Lightning Rod? Because that would be seen a lot of the times usually.
Like it was a very last minute choice. Actually, like did it on the train here.
Right.
It was like I feel like with the fake out, you can get Tailwind set up easily, and then just there's so much Intimidate that will lower your Kangaskhan's damage output. And you got the Braviary getting the boosts.
Yeah. One last thing. Did you come here with your friends? Do you have any shout-outs or anyone that helped you build this team? Or?
Yeah, I want to give big shout-outs to John TV and Jana. Like we team build all the time, just practice against each other, and just being a good help building the teams.
Right. Yeah, that's really good. You can never build a team alone. I think it's always really important that you look out in this community, see who can help you. Yeah, I think that's where like the most of the success stories come from. Yeah. So yeah, you're 4-0 now. You're feeling good for Top Cut. You feel like you're gonna make that.
I feel confident.
Yeah, definitely. That's cool. Okay, well, good luck in the rest of the rounds.
Thanks.
And we'll see you again.
Yep.